Hot tag time, everybody.
Hot tags!
No.
Yeah.
I was expecting hot tags. We got a couple things that we're going to talk about that happened this week. Nothing huge. Nothing really that's just, firings or anything like that like we've been doing recently. Although, I guess you could say the most important thing this whole week that we could talk about, Cody Rhodes changes his gimmick to Stardust, which right now Steven Wago has this his picture on Skype, and it's creeping me the fuck out.
You just have Stardust and Bob Saget gazing eerily into you.
I do.
That must be fantastic.
I have Stardust staring at me with the weird lenses in his eyes and that creepy-ass Joker smile, and then Bob Saget with the dull, beaten-down life eyes and that smirk.
And he's like got his head craned on his hand, like, what do you got to say, Tony?
Yeah. So, Tony, fill me in. And Stardust is just kind of like, I don't know, rapey eyes.
And that's the hottest news in wrestling this week, folks.
Right?
Rape eyes.
It's Bob Saget pictures and everything. So the Stardust thing, we talked about it on Raw a little bit, the Raw post show. And now that we've had a couple days to kind of stew about it, what do you guys think about it? I'm still all for it. I listened to the theme song earlier again today, and that's still really odd for me. But I kind of hope that he goes full-blown fucking weird. Because Goldust, at the time when he made his debut, was creepy as hell, and he was just odd and awkward, and we've gotten used to Goldust now, but Stardust kind of hit us all with like a big what the fuck punch to the face, so maybe he could do just as bad, if not worse, you know?
Well, Goldust has evolved so much at this point. He doesn't even come out with the robe or the wig or anything. His face paint is completely different. He's got that more Darth Maul style. I would say, just from what we saw Monday, Cody's doing Goldust better than Goldust. Like there was a really unsettling feeling to this character that Cody was coming out with that the original Goldust one had, which back then you were able to play on gay tendencies. These days, like, there's so much gay pride and support for all that, you couldn't really pull that off. So he has to go for something different, and I think that's what he's doing. It's almost like what Damien Sandow did with the interpretive dance character, only more serious and better.
Yeah, like he's going full on out for it.
Mm-hmm.
Like he's just like, you know what? No, I am not Cody Rhodes. When I come out with this stuff on, I'm Stardust.
Complete method acting. I really hope that this is not just some one-off or even short-term thing. I hope this is something they plan on running with for, solid number of months at least.
Do Stardust versus Goldust at WrestleMania then, if you need to, right?
Mm-hmm.
What do you think about it, Wago? Has your opinion changed anything since Raw post show, or is it still the same?
The fact is, everyone on Facebook's still talking about it right now, and that alone is fucking worth it. Everyone's into this right now, even if it's like, what the fuck, or this is just kind of odd, or if they're even into it. I'm personally into it. I think it's gave Cody some life, which he's not had in a long time. I still think he's one of the best at transitioning his character into different roles, and this will just be another chapter of that. I think in the long run, it's just a setup for a heel turn. I think come WrestleMania time, if they choose to stretch it out that long or perhaps shorter, he's going to end up turning heel on Goldust. And heck, they could even do it the other way, where he's out Goldusting Goldust and he gets pissed off and turns on Cody. But either way, a feud's going to come out of it.
That would be great if he's like pissed off that he's doing Goldust better, so he's like, fine, then I'm going to go back to Dustin Rhodes, and you can be Stardust and I can be Dustin Rhodes. We'll do a total flip of what the Cody Rhodes and Goldust thing was.
Going to be the natural.
And I'll come out to like, whoa, Dustin Rhodes. Whoa.
The thing is, they could totally fuck around and him do Cody's gimmicks and shit.
Yeah, wear the mask with the broken nose or whatever it was.
But they could totally have it like a brother rivalry thing where they're pretty much just taking the piss out of each other. Shit, they could.
Dustin Rhodes starts doing grooming tips.
Yeah. Dashing Dustin Rhodes.
Seriously, I think something like that would be funny as hell. Just squabbling brothers instead of this whole fucking he's brothers now, his mortal enemy. Get that right together.
I'd be up for it.
Yeah, and I'm always up for something different, so I'm into this right now.
It's a hell of a lot better than them not doing anything, like you said.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of tag teams, Cara and Kalisto are two things that they are thinking about tagging up, both in NXT and eventually two things. Yeah, you can put it that way. We're getting rid of a bunch of tag teams, so they have to look at more people. They did Jason Jordan and Ty Dillinger, which that's just an NXT thing. That's not going to pick up probably.
Have you seen NXT this week? Because there's a new tag team that debuted that was awesome.
Sami Zayn and Tyson Kidd.
No. Aiden English and this new guy named Simon Gotch. They're a tag team called the Vaud Villains. And they have this like 1930s circus carny era gimmick.
It's like,
and, like their
their
video is like a monkey riding a bicycle. Simon Gotch comes out with this handlebar mustache. He's doing like feats of strength during the match, like push-ups. It's awesome. And it's something for Aiden English to do. This is the new premier tag team in NXT, I think, because the Ascension is ready to come up, so they need to get more tag teams down there.
It's so ridiculous, that Vaudevillains thing, but I got to admit I laughed. That was my favorite thing about that episode. I actually did not like the episode.
No.
But seeing that was good. And actually, during that same episode, I saw a lot more from Kalisto than I've ever seen. So I wouldn't necessarily say I'm a fan now, because you can't judge it based off of one match. But before, I thought he was just kind of a waste, like that El Local thing.
El Local was holding him back.
Yeah, and
fucking Ricardo Rodriguez wrestling. What do you expect?
Yeah, so maybe pairing him with Sin Cara is going to end up being a good move for that. Sin Cara is not hitting it off the way that they expected it to. So put him in a tag team. The tag team stuff is perfect for people that don't go anywhere. Sin Cara and Kalisto are two masked people, so that's your linchpin for those two. They could end up being a great tag team WWE. I'm 100% for this as well. Any rejections or anything to that?
I would have scrapped the Sin Cara gimmick altogether and just had him come out with a different mask. That fucking character is dead, and it's got all that shit that went down between the real Sin Cara and all that crap attached to it. I just say reboot a new character, and Hunico was already under a mask, and I can't remember what the character name is, but the mask was cool as hell.
I think it was just Hunico, wasn't it?
No. Oh, actually,
I think it was Sin Cara Negro.
Incognito.
What a like bland name for that. Like that's like going out there
still the mask looked cool as hell is what I'm saying. Reboot the character, come out with something different. The Sin Cara thing's dead. The whole point of NXT, it's the developmental. It's for these new upcoming guys. Reboot Hunico.
Peyton?
I actually was going to say the exact same thing as Wago. Just scrap Sin Cara. Like, all the shit that's gone down, he's a joke from being, like, the botch master and the stupid freaking lights and all the drama that went down with the original character leaving, rather. It's just a wasted character. And if it's not catching on, then give up. Like, you could do something else with Hunico. He's a really talented guy. You want to put him in a tag team with Kalisto? I think that's great. As I said, we need more tag teams, not just in NXT, but eventually up on the main roster as well. So, perfect. You know, a guy like Kalisto, not impossible for him, but it is going to be tougher for him to get over as a smaller guy and as a foreigner to this American crowd. So maybe putting him in a tag team to get him introduced would be the perfect way to get him up there.
Let's see here. We've got Dolph Ziggler. This is another scoop thing, so take it with a grain of salt. The reason he's not getting a push is because he's injury prone. If that's true, it makes a little bit of sense, but at the same time, it also doesn't, because there's a lot of other people that are injury prone that seem to keep getting shot after shot after shot. So I don't really necessarily believe this 100%. I think that it's more so a combination of him speaking out and them being annoyed about that, and them just having other priorities and not really giving two craps about a guy who can perform in the ring but isn't doing it on the mic. Not that Ziggler's horrible on the mic or whatever, but you can tell he doesn't have that much of a reaction compared to somebody like a John Cena. So believe it if you must. Take it with a grain of salt, etc. What do you guys think about this? Wago?
I don't believe it. And besides that, even if it is true, let's take a look at the Dolph Ziggler injuries. He got a concussion. That was because Jack Swagger kicked him in the fucking head.
Mm-hmm.
Jack Swagger tends to be really stiff and he really hurts people. He's kind of like the Miz. He's not the safest worker in there, so you can't blame that on Dolph. And did he get another concussion? Because that's the only one I'm aware of.
I think Ryback gave him another one.
Again, and Ryback was going through a phase of hurting people. So, if you've not got faith in the guy, I can understand not doing it. But I'm having a hard time believing this just because of the circumstances of the injuries that he's had.
Yeah, it's kind of like blaming John Cena for Kennedy giving him the pec injury back in the day.
Yeah, I just arm dragged you. My arm hurts.
Peyton, any truth to this or just bullshit?
Well, I'll never believe anything unless I hear it come from the big brass's mouth themselves, so I'm not going to give faith to it for that. Is he injury prone? I think there's an argument that can be made for that. And I think there's also an argument that can be made for the fact that Dolph Ziggler has had periods where he was over, but for the most part has been a disappointment as far as the talent that he has, whether that's just because he doesn't keep himself motivated all the time or what it is. I don't know. There's something that's just always been missing from Dolph Ziggler, from keeping him being able to be that all-around polarizing character, and I think that's what's holding him back more than anything. I think Dolph Ziggler has just gotten so overrated from this present-day internet community that we have, that I'm a part of, so I can't talk down on, but I think that's the problem. People just see so much more in him than is really there. And I think this might just be a situation where the higher-ups know better than we do and know that he's just not someone who does deserve to be further than he is.
The only other thing that I could see holding Dolph back is he's just one of those outspoken guys, and it's kind of like Zack Ryder. He bitches rather than does something about it. So it could be a number of things, and I have to somewhat agree with Peyton. I think he's a great in-ring worker, but that's about it.
Vince McMahon fired his lead writer the other day, and now we're starting to hear some reports that it isn't as big of a deal as it seems like it would be, but I would think you fire any writer, it's going to be a big deal. So I don't know what his influence was. The one report was saying that he wasn't necessarily like a creative writer as much as he was managing the other writers.
Do you know the name? Who was this?
Oh, I have no idea. He's like, that's like how much nobody gave a shit.
It wasn't like Brian Gewirtz or anything like that, right?
No.
I think that was him.
No, I don't think it was him. I think it was somebody else. I want to say it starts with an M, but I don't remember off the top of my head. But they were saying that he was not a big wrestling fan, and when his name would come up with like opinions and stuff, like he wouldn't really have an opinion. So that's part of the problem. You bring people on board to write something that they're not a fan of and that they're not familiar with. You're going to get that. What was it?
Jay Gibson.
Oh, there you go. That starts with an M. Good job, Tony.
sounds like a Hollywood guy.
Yeah, he's probably just one of the people that they threw on there because they were like, oh, you wrote on a sitcom or something like that. And that's not what you do. You don't need to have, 30 years in the business of wrestling to be a wrestling writer, but at the same time, you should at least follow the fucking product.
Yeah, so long, Gibby.
Another Gibby to hate. Lego, your thoughts on firing a writer?
I don't think it's going to make too much of a difference, and honestly, I don't see a negative coming out of this. I think there's way too many Hollywood guys that don't know the business well enough. And let's face it, most of the ideas that they probably fucking throw out gets vetoed by Triple H or Vince McMahon. I really doubt most of what these guys say actually fucking stick.
Peyton?
This sounds like a mutually beneficial split. I don't know the guy's skill set. I mean, maybe he didn't know a lot about the wrestling, but maybe he did know a lot about leading a creative team and motivating him and all that. But if he was lacking problem and motivation, then he absolutely was not fit for that role. So he would have nothing to bring to the table. If he didn't know wrestling and he didn't know how to lead his team, then no reason he should be there. And him leaving is only going to be a benefit. Whoever steps up, I'm glad to hear it wasn't anybody too important. I wish it was Michael Hayes. That's someone I would have liked to have seen leave.
Apparently, the reason Oksana got fired was because of Jay Gibson, too. Apparently, he's the one that was high on her and the one keeping her around, so...
I thought it said Kevin Dunn was.
It was someone who was released. Was Kevin Dunn released?
No, I thought that it said Kevin Dunn was the one that liked Oksana.
Kevin Dunn likes everyone.
He probably liked Kevin one time.
Kevin Dunn hates everybody, actually.
He was like, hi,
Kevin.
He
likes anyone who's shit.
So he goes, hi, Kevin, and he's like, I'm in love. She needs to be the best diva on the roster.
I could have swore it was someone who got fired, and that's the reason Oksana isn't around anymore.
It might be. Either way, see ya, Oksana, see ya, Gibby. Last thing to talk about here, it's a TNA one. They have decided to let fans pick whether or not they're going to keep the 4-sided ring or go back to the 6-sided ring. So they're slowly but surely making changes to go back to the way that they were before the whole Hulk Hogan thing. That really panned out, didn't it? What were you saying, Peyton?
This is horseshit. They're just going back to the freaking 6-sided, and they just want to make it seem like, ooh, fans have a choice. I guarantee you, if the 4-sided ring actually got more votes, they would still just go to the 6-sided.
Well, they're using Poll Daddy on their website, and they've blocked the results from showing up.
Huh. Well.
So I don't know. If they did it for that
where do
reason.
I vote for them to go fuck off and die?
Oh, you go to organicwrestling.net.
That's how you don't vote, and you just continue what they've been normally doing, which is getting less and less viewers.
Yeah, that's the fuck off and die option.
Right. So, I don't know. I mean, at this point, that shit's not going to matter. If you go back to a 6-sided ring, it's not like you're going to flock all the WWE fans over to you. People don't give a shit anymore. The people that were fond of the 6-sided ring are the people that are TNA loyalists that haven't stopped watching the program anyway. Kind of a waste. But go back to it if you want to. I don't fucking care. Lego?
I don't see it as a bad thing as much as it gives them an identity. I hear it's a little harder on the guy's body, and that's probably just because the more turnbuckles you have, the more it's tightened, and probably the less give the canvas has. So from that point of view, it's a bad thing, but for those I hear complaining, here's my answer to that is it's never a bad thing to give your viewers an option, and if that's what they want, give them what they want. I say it's a good move on TNA's part, but in the end, a ring isn't going to make a difference.
Peyton?
Yeah, I don't give a shit.
Peyton votes for fuck off and die.
Mm-hmm.
So this hot tag segment over with. We're going to fuck off and die for a little bit, go to the next part. We're going to do the Hottest Stevens tournament up in part 3, so stay tuned, everyone.